if you want to make a really quick custom MetaHuman for as cheap as possible without using those really expensive plugins like MetaPipe or MeshMorpher, this just uses a single plugin that's quite cheap called FACEBUILDER. It's only $18 a month and create lots of custom MetaHumans at once with it if you want to. All right, let's go through the process. So I'm just going to open up Blender and click on the FACEBUILDER add-on, which I've installed. Click on Create New Head. Then I just need to add images here. So I'm just going to click on Add Images and find an image that I want. Now here's the photo that I'm using, but you're actually going to get better results if you delight the image, so to get rid of all the shadows. And you can actually use a website to do that, which is really useful. But I'll use this one, so I'm just going to click on that now. And it's going to automatically choose the points, but they're going to be wrong. So the idea is that I need to make this closer to what the body, the person actually is. Ideally, I would be using a side shot as well. All right, so if we then go back to 3D, and then I click up here to see viewport shading, and then I can see the face that it's making, which isn't too bad. And I'm going to then go down to texture, and I would recommend changing this UV to MH, which is the MetaHuman. But anyway, we'll just keep going. And change this to 8192, 8192, and click OK, then click on Create Texture. And it's a little dangerous to do this because you end up getting a little bit of a, it can look better than it actually is, because you're seeing the effect of this texture. Makes you get a bit more confident than you actually should be. But anyway, now what I want to do is underneath Create Texture, I want to click on Export. I'm doing this very slapdash. Okay, and then I need to go in here, Export, FBX for Games, and I'm going to save that. Now, I tend to change the path mode to Copy, so that it actually saves the texture in here as well. All right, then I'm going to click Export FBX. All right, so that is my starting point of a fairly bloody average face. It's not great. Now, I actually have, if I wanted to, I could improve this because the FaceBuilder always makes the same type of texture. So if we look at this, this is the texture it's made. Well, I actually have a generic FaceBuilder texture that I've made by combining lots of different images. So if I wanted to, I could paint out all of this missing stuff in Photoshop using that reference FaceBuilder, but I'm not going to, because you don't have to for this process, and I'm trying to do it as fast as possible. So now what I want to do, I'm going to be using Unreal 5.5.3. I'm going to check my installed plugins because it's important that I have the MetaHuman plugin installed. And that is not installed by default. So you'll need to go into Fab and install it. And you can see here, there's this option, install MetaHuman plugin, install to engine. And I've already done that for 5.5.3 or 5.5, which includes that. So I'm just going to click on Launch. Then I'm going to click on this Film, Video, and Live Events. Blank is fine. And I don't need starter content. And I'm just going to name this 48-second work. Yeah, whatever. That'll do. All right, and now that it's open, I'm just going to dismiss that, update, whatever. I'm going to go up to Edit, Plugins, and search for MetaHumans, and I'm going to turn on the MetaHuman plugin because that's not on. Even though I've installed it to Engine, it won't actually be active in my project. Then I'm going to click Yes and restart. And now what I want to do is actually make a MetaHuman identity from that FBX that I exported. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new folder and I'm going to call this Model 48, and then right click and go MetaHuman Animator, MetaHuman Identity. So Model 48, actually MHID underscore Model 48. Should I say FEM? Yeah, FEM Model 48, and just going to double click and open that up. And then I just go up here to create components from mesh, and I want to create it from that FBX. So what I need to do is, of course, import that FBX. So I'm just going to right click, import in here, and I'm just going to open that FBX, leave everything else on default and say import. Okay, so now I've got everything. I'm just going to press Control-Shift-S to save all of that. Open up that MetaHuman ID again. Now I'm going to go create components from mesh, FACEBUILDER. All right. Pan around, move in. Actually, I'm going to go and click on this camera icon here and change the field of view to 25. Actually, while I'm here, I might as well click on body and choose female standard. Then go back to neutral pose. Click on promote frame and then track markers. And generally, sometimes these are accurate and sometimes they're not. So you want to, what is the key combination? Oh, it's right click. So what you want to do is, what I can't remember, is it? Yeah. You kind of just have to guess at the key combinations. So it's just holding down shift and left, clicking on all of those, and then you can drag them together. That looks about right. And just right click and drag. Okay, so that's not right. All right, that looks close enough. Now, if you want to, you can, before you actually press MetaHuman Identity Solve, you can enter in a console command here, which exports a conformed mesh. And you can then use that to make a more accurate MetaHuman. Here's the YouTube video that goes through that process. And then we want to go to MetaHuman Identity Solve. Then I need to go Mesh to MetaHuman, and then I want to choose this one, Skeletal Mesh plus Full MetaHuman. And at this point, it's going to prompt me to log in. And then I'm just going to wait, and it says waiting for MetaHuman backend. All right. So it says skeletal mesh with an embedded human DNA is now available, yada, yada, yada. But it's got a problem, which is that the size is incorrect. But I'm just going to say okay for now. And then I'm going to open up the MetaHuman Creator website. All right, so that's loaded up, and you can just go ahead and click on Edit Selected. And I'm going to click on Stop, just so I can have a clear view of the character. So then what I tend to do is click on Skin. So this just makes it a lot easier to see what's actually happening. And then I click on Assign, and then it chooses a default skin, and I just move that around a bit and move that to where I think looks all right, and move this, let's go a bit closer so we can see. And you can see that as you move this slider, it changes the texture. Okay, so I'm then going to, well, you can do whatever you like. You can go in here now and make changes as much as you like. The main thing here is to click on Custom Mesh next, because if you see at the top, it says Overall Influence. If you drag this down and back, you're going to see it changes quite significantly. And it's changing between a more literal interpretation of what you imported to a rounded sort of vaguer version. So if we go into the eyes, so this is overall influence 1, and this is overall influence of 0. But you can also change things individually. So if you want to go in and click on the nose, for example, and change the region influence, etc., etc. All right, so you can customize it like that, and then it sets some defaults that you may not like. So you can go in and change the eye color, and you can adjust the teeth. It always defaults now to a sort of natural color, but if you're making anything that is supposed to be Hollywoodish, then Hollywood actors have very bright white teeth, and they also tend to appear to have very, very bright scleras compared to which is this the way it's lit, really, but but it can look a little bit faker. So I think it defaults to 87. I usually go slightly up. Okay, so then you can click, and happy always looks pretty terrible in my experience. Happy B gives you a better idea of what it will look like. It's still quite an unnatural smile, but that's MetaHumans for you. Now, you can adjust the teeth, but I don't remember how you can. Anyway, whatever. You can adjust as much as you like, and I'm going to then add some hair. Now, as you start playing with these, do note that it likes to crash and forget things. So you may want to save or name as you like, and then it's supposed to save everything. But I sometimes go back to my MetaHuman and then click on it again to get a bit closer. Okay, so those eyebrows are not looking quite right, but that's not too bad. The hair to me looks kind of fake. Yeah, I mean it's all right. It's not great. But one thing you can do is choose a starting point for your hair, and then once you've got it into Unreal, you can then export the groom and in Blender adjust the groom and then import it back in. I do that quite a lot. Okay, so that's looking fine. The head size is going to be a little wrong, and that's because of the size that my thing was in Blender. So I'm just going to reduce the head size a bit there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my MetaHumans. So I'm going to actually rename this to Charlotte. Here we go. Go into my MetaHumans. And before I get out of MetaHuman Creator, I'm actually going to export an MHB file. So if I go down here, down to the bottom here, and there's a button here, export. If I click on that, it's just going to download an MHB. And that MHB can then be sent to your friends or whatever to make this exact MetaHuman. So I'm going to add this MetaHuman probably to my website as an example. So I'm just going to take a quick screenshot. All right, so that's done with this website. And I'm just going to go up here and say log out. Don't think you actually need to do that, but I always do. Okay, and then back in Unreal, I'm going to just keep this project and import the MetaHuman. So to do that, I'm just going to go up here and go Quixel Bridge. And then I'm going to click on MetaHumans and My MetaHumans. And I'm already logged in, but if I wasn't or got confused, it might prompt me again. Then down here, I'm going to change this to Cinematic Complete. And just close this. No idea what that means because there's no update in the launcher. And then I'm going to click on Download. And it's going to generate and then download that MetaHuman. All right, so that is downloaded. All right, so that is generated and downloaded. And then I'm just going to click on Add. Then I can go ahead and close the bridge. It always shows this, and I just click on Don't Import, and then drag that into the scene. Then I'm going to change the light source angle just so we can see the face a little bit better. And there we go. So the MetaHuman is in there now. And I can create a camera and stuff, but I'm just going to do this quickly, so I'm not going to bother doing that. But you've got this MetaHuman ready to go. If you want to get closer to the original face, there are things you can do to do that. So if we go back to our imported FBX, which created this static mesh, and we compare those, and you can see what I mean by the size issue. So I'm just going to change that to 0.1. It's not quite 0.1. It's a little bit incorrect. Actually, I need to change this to be at 0, 20 off the ground. I don't know why it's 20 off the ground, but it is. Just pressing F to frame up. All right. So this is our imported FBX. And I'm going to change my field of view to 20, so it's just a bit easier to see. Okay, so if we compare these heads, what we can do is try to get closer. Now, if you look at, there's a variety of different ways you can get closer, and obviously the size of the eyes, if we were to change those in MetaHuman Creator, I think you can do that. You can change the iris size. I can't remember, but I think so. And then the actual eyebrows that are much more realistic because they're a bit random, and these are a bit too baked in. And you know, there's various things we could do. So in MetaHuman Creator, I'm going to quickly change the color of the eyes to green and make the iris larger. Then to make some fine adjustments, I'm going to go into Custom Mesh and click on Enable Editing down here. And it prompts me that I can't go backwards, essentially. So I'm going to click on Duplicate and Unlock. I'm then going to click on the Sculpt tool in the viewport and make adjustments. All right, and then because I've already imported this MetaHuman into my Unreal project, I need to go through a process of duplicating, renaming, and then making adjustments to it. As in, I got to duplicate it, rename, and then go edit selected on that new one. Otherwise, the Unreal project will get very confused. All right, and then I just download that new MetaHuman and add it to the scene. All right, so my custom MetaHuman is now inside of Unreal, but it has the standard MetaHuman hair, standard MetaHuman skin, standard MetaHuman eyebrows. And those three things I can change: the skin, hair, and eyebrows. So I would start with the skin and make my own custom skin. To do that, I would export the skin from FACEBUILDER as a MetaHuman UV format. Then I would export the default MetaHuman textures, all of these, for my MetaHuman. And then in Photoshop, I'd use the official MetaHumans as a reference to make my own texture. Then I'd import that into Unreal and then add it to the base color. Well, I'd add it to all four base color tiles. And yeah, that's what I would do. And to customize the eyebrows and the hair, I would close my Unreal project, and then I would make sure that the GROOM export plugin that I purchased was installed into the engine. And it doesn't currently support 5.5, but it probably will by the time you watch this. And then open up the project again and make sure the plugin is turned on. And then I would just find the eyebrows and export them, and it will give me the option to export it as a .abc ALEMBIC file, and do the same for the hair, and then open them in Blender. To get them back into Unreal, I would use the Blender GROOM export plugin, which I also have already purchased, to export a GROOM from Blender. Then I'd import them and place them inside of Unreal. All right, so I've made a quick custom MetaHuman. That's how the process goes. I hope that's useful to somebody out there, and let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see any other tutorials